How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of FSI's NASCAR DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, TK Nation 47, joined with Mega Ruler 31. Good evening, Mega. Welcome to another week of NASCAR DFS talk. We have Richmond Raceway. What are your thoughts?
I'm thinking we were kind of spoiled the last couple of weeks because when we did these videos, we knew exactly like where everybody qualified. But we're back to the guessing game. We're shooting this on Friday night. Practice and qualifying is tomorrow morning, Saturday, right before the race. I think they already inspected the cars, so they can make a couple adjustments, like if you were anything that you could do at a pit stop, I believe, during practice, but they can't make wholesale adjustments, or they have to go back to the end of the line. So what we did, or what I did, was I looked at what you did. Right. Well, so we're 5 races in now, I believe. Don't quote me, maybe it's 6. But the 2022 season data is starting to become a factor. So I was able to switch from 21 to 22. Track history, although some of the guys really haven't run on here, maybe you've only run a couple of ones. I didn't use ARCA data for some of the yellow guys that you see there, ARCA drivers. It's too inflated because you only have about 15, and everybody finishes in the top 15. It just makes them look like superstars, and it just throws projection way off. But then I looked at some recent things. So I looked at Richmond in 2021. Phoenix, I feel, is a very similar track. So I looked at the Phoenix race in last fall, the finale, and then I looked at the one they just raced at not too long ago. And then I kind of ranked the guys by how their average running position was, and then I came up with a fictitious starting order. So you have 42 cars in the field, only 38 are going to make it into the race. So there's about 4 guys, so we can play our fun game again. Leave in the comments below 2 guys out of the 4 that you think that aren't going to qualify. We'll give you our thoughts. Well, if you look at my sheet, you can probably already figure it out, but we'll talk through this. So again, these are not accurate projections. I'm not really looking at the projections. I think I'm looking more at what type of play do we think they can be? And of course, it's all going to be contingent on if they qualify. We could tell you guys a complete fade here. I'm looking at Landon Castle. The first one that's a decent driver that pops into my head. But, if he's got some tech issues or whatever, or, something silly happens that that they can fix right away and they can't qualify. He has to go pee and doesn't make it for his qualifying time or something. He drank too much, too many Mountain Dews or Red Bulls or something, and the car is perfectly fine and the driver will be fine, and he's starting 37th. Then obviously he's not a fade anymore. But then some of these guys could be we could say our cash plays because we think they're going to be middle of the pack, have a little bit of place differential. But if they're starting in the top 5 because they trimmed out their car for qualifying, but then we know they're going to sink like an anchor as soon as the race, if there's some long runs going on here, and there's a lot of laps, so you kind of have some long runs. And this is a pretty decent tire fall off. So there's been a lot of cases where you've gotten to the end of the race and they've been extended with green, white, checkered, and guys have blown tires and they got to find their best scuffs and put them on. So tire management is definitely going to be a big one for this track. The other kind of goofy thing this year is with the practice and qualifying, some of these guys, if you look at the data, that didn't do well here last year, or, in 2020, they had a double header, which Allgeier won both of those. Then that was guessing and getting the setup right. Here they're going to have practice, and granted, it's not a long session, but it's still a little bit where they could potentially tune things up a little bit better. So if somebody had a horrible car in stage 1 and stage 2 in the 2021 race or some of the 2020 races, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be bad here, because with the practice, they might be able to get the adjustments figured out faster.
Yes. We have 250 laps to talk about. Drivers that could potentially be dominators for this race. We have lead laps back into the scoring after last week. We had a road course where we were not technically looking at lead laps. We were looking at more place differential and finishing position. Now we're going to have to factor in some fast laps. We're going to have to factor in some lead laps. So we're going to probably go and talk about cars that have been fast throughout the year, maybe that have finished very well in Richmond in the past, as you alluded to with the Phoenix correlations in Richmond in the past. So hopefully we can come together with some good some good thoughts on, drivers that we're going to be targeting for tomorrow. All right, we have practice at 8:30, qualifying at 9. If you guys are looking to find the Discord for us, and you can get any questions or updated projections, and of course, core plays, you can find that link in our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS. That link to the Discord is in the bio. All right, Mega. Noah Gragson having a wonderful year in that 9 car, 10-9. Your thoughts on Noah?
And, last year I always said his first one in my GPP lineup, but I'm actually seeing some maturity here. And I think it was, once you get like, Cindric and some of the other guys that left and went up. And we saw the same thing kind of like with Cindric when like Reddick and some of those guys moved up into Cup. It's the opportunity for them to shine. And Gregson, I think he feels like he was passed over, that he should have been up there too. And I think he's kind of taking it out on the racetrack. And like I said, he did, if you look at his career stats here, 6 races at this Richmond track, 5 top 10s, 3 top 5s. He's won a race. His average running position here is within the top 5. He won Phoenix this year, and I said that's a comparable track. So I don't care where he starts. I think that he is definitely a prime play. At some point, he will get out there, and I think he will lead a lot of laps.
Yeah, Gregson's going to be in a lot of lineups tomorrow for the Xfinity race. I couldn't agree more with you on wherever he starts. He is going to be a play. Definitely has the best correlation between the tracks, history, and speed this year. So Gregson looking to be a top play tomorrow. All right, next up we have John Hunter Nemechek, not formerly, but currently driving in the Truck Series for Kyle Busch Motorsports. He is driving in a Joe Gibbs 18. This is a fast car, the all-star car, as we've called it throughout the year. And John Hunter Nemechek is growing to be a really good driver. Your thoughts?
I believe like there's data for Richmond 21 here. I believe he was in the Sam Hunt car, which is kind of like a light version of one of these Gibbs cars, but not as good. And this car is one of the elite cars, probably, it's just like everything they put into it. They just have a list of like Cup drivers and really good performances coming from this car. So I don't think that – I think he can get out there. I think he might lead some laps and stuff. And the other thing that comes in that we always have to consider is that he has the discretion to change up his pitting strategy. He doesn't have to follow the rest of the crew because he's not running for points. So that could be very beneficial for him, get him track position, help him, if something goes wrong, he can pit early, and then when everybody else cycles through, he's already out there and lead. Now, again, it is a tire fall off one. So eventually I think if he does get out there and lead, those with fresher tires that will pit even 5-6 laps behind him will eventually catch up and surpass him. But I do think it does lead to, I'm not saying I'm going to put him as a second guy in my lineup, but I think, he is somebody definitely to consider in a cash lineup also if you can get him in with Griffin.
Yes, obviously contingent on starting position, but I definitely like John Hunter Nemechek going into tomorrow's race for potential dominator. Hopefully we see some good signs of speed from practice. I know the 18 has a lot of speed this year. John Hunter Nemechek with a top 5 in the Xfinity Series in the 3 races here, so definitely a strong play. Next up is Brandon Jones in the 19 cars. 9,300 is an okay price tag. Fared pretty well in Phoenix this past year. Your thoughts on Brandon Jones?
I think he's a no for me here unless he qualifies below 15th because he did well at Phoenix, but Richmond last year, his average running position was 16.9. He's raced here 11 times. He only has 3 top 10s. His average finish is 18th. So this isn't his track style.
No, it's
And,
not.
Brandon Jones does good when it's like Brandon Jones type of track. Every time
2
else,
miles.
he's
Long, wide tracks.
right. He's mediocre or abysmal. So I
don't like him on short tracks.
GPP. I'm not really interested. You do get a little bit of price break. DK is kind of tempting you on that one, but I think I don't think I would be playing much of him unless he starts like 25th or
Right. Well, yeah.
Without a major mechanical failure in qualifying or practice.
Sure. Agreed. Jones, benefited from Phoenix. It is a decently wide 1.5-mile track, or I would say 1.25 miles. Phoenix. It's got some different lanes. They fan out on the restarts. He has a lot of room to maneuver. At Richmond, you got a lot of tight corners in a mile track. So I think it's too small of a space for him, and I could see him tagging a wall or time or two, like he always does. All right, next up we have Justin Allgeier, 10-6, just dominant at this racetrack in the Xfinity Series. This is a cash play wherever he starts.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna have to decide whether I want key
5 top 5s.
Nemechek was 8 top 5s at this racetrack.
I'm just going based on the last 5.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, even better at this racetrack, and definitely, like I said, he swept. His 2 wins here were in 2020 when they had the back-to-back one. Struggled a little bit in the early stages, didn't have the setup right in 21, but then came alive towards the end of the race, and was in contention at the end of it. So, and now with practice and stuff, I think he's definitely a very strong play here.
Next up, we have Daniel Hamrick, 9,600, driving in the Kaulig 11 car. I don't really like the price tag here, especially if he qualifies pretty well. Kaulig very good at qualifying so far this year. He does have a top 10 at this race, but it was with Gibbs Racing, not Kaulig. So I'm kind of reserved and going to go GPP here with Hamrick and wonder what kind of speed he has tomorrow.
Yeah, same thing. He actually has 4 top 10s and 3 top 5s at this racetrack, but it's not the Gibbs car anymore. These Kaulig cars have been kind of questionable here. They've made a huge strides in Cup, but it seems like at the expense of Xfinity.
Right.
Not
except for the 16.
Yeah, I think he'll be in contention here, but I don't think that he's going to be a dominator or really a huge factor enough to pay off his price tag. And I know you like the 16 and he's up next year, but
we'll just roll it in 16.
But he's really not done well at this track. Average rating position is 16th. It's just really not his style. Now he's having a good year. So I think, if you look at his current form, that's one thing, but still, I don't think that at 10-2, I would so much rather find the 200 to 400 more to put Nemechek or Allgeier in my line. Maybe a GPP, I throw him in a couple just in case, but I don't foresee anything special out of him in this race.
I actually agree with you for a lot of the same reasons. Most of it has to do with the price tag at 10-2. I find myself wanting to stretch to Allgeier, Nemechek, or Gregson more so than Allmendinger. I think that will leave some low ownership. And as you know, in a race, anything can happen. But simply, I'm just not sure about Kaulig Racing right now until I see some more tomorrow and see what kind of speed they're working with in practice on like the long run. Because 10-lap average in practice is going to mean something tomorrow. And I'm just going to wait until I see that with Kaulig. So GPP for now could be a fade, depending on what I see tomorrow morning. All right, next up we have Ty.
Do you know what the number one issue with Kaulig is? Seems they need clean air. If they're out there out front, they're fine. But if they're back in the pack, then it just doesn't seem like they can make any ground.
They don't have any handling on that car once it gets into dirty air. And this is a racetrack with fall off. It's going to be surrounded with cars. I could just see a lot of issues for the Kaulig Racing team tomorrow. All right, Ty Gibbs next up in the 54. just kind of doing Ty Gibbs things right now, lying in the weeds, hanging out in the top 5, and then winning the race at the end. That's what he's done. 11.5 is a super high price tag for me. If he continues to qualify poorly and not dominate races, yes, he could be the winner, but I don't know. I'm stuck here. I don't want to spend that much for Ty Gibbs when I can get Allgeier for almost 1,000 less than him. And I feel like he's going to be chalk, and he could crush me if he continues to just backdoor into wins. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I don't think he's going to dominate here. And we saw, Ty Gibbs, he was supposed to be a really good road course driver. In Dakota, he was like, it was around the 20s. He's not had the best car a lot of the races this year, but somehow found a way to win, which is kind of ironic because the last time they were here at this racetrack, he had by far the best car. He had a dominant car, but then pit road, I think they messed up something towards the end.
He led some laps. He led 67 laps out of the 250 last year and finished top 10 because of poor end of the race.
Yeah.
Just poor on a restart at the end of the race, and I think
I still think we're going to see some regression here. I just I
don't want to pay 11.5 either.
Yeah. I think I take him as cash because I think I can see it, but I think he's more. He'll probably be the first one in my GPP lineup. I think he and Grayson have kind of like switched roles on me.
No kidding. Yeah, that's a good assessment. All right, next up we have Josh Berry in the 89100. Junior Motorsports, pretty good at this racetrack over the years. Josh Berry, really good driver. We've used him in some spots this year. I got nothing against him or the price tag at 9,100.
Yeah, he did really well here last year, and he was in the Jordan Anderson car. He wasn't in one of these junior cars, but they were good. He does well on these flat, short tracks.
Yeah.
It's where he really succeeds. And I like the price under 10K. And I think that, he'll be able to stay in the top 5 and have a good day and potentially maybe even lead some laps. I don't think he's going to be a very dominant driver, but I think
be a solid driver 2 or 3 in your lineup with some place differential, some finishing position. Yeah, I think he could be real solid. I like him on flat tracks too. That's a great call. Next up, we have Ryan Sieg in the 39. Awfully quick this year. Awfully quick car this year. He's qualified well at times. He's finished races well. He's done Ryan Sieg things, and it looks like the team's made a jump. Collectively, their car is pretty dang good. And 6,700, this could be a mega chalk play tomorrow if he qualifies poorly, or even if he qualifies in like 15th.
Yeah, and I agree. And you look at his like data here, like 15th average play, finish, 1 top 10. Other than Vegas, like he's been very, very strong this year. So like you said, I think they made a giant step forward, and it's weird because they added more cars to this team and they got better, where our motorsport added more cars to the team. They got worse, way
worse.
And it's crazy. Yeah. And like I said, I love the price, the 67. This is just an amazing price for a guy that's in great form. And definitely if you throw out some of like the bad data there, like my model has him like 9th. So I'm
kind of hoping he qualifies like 12th, honestly, because I'll still play him at 6,700.
Oh yeah,
because I think he's top 5, top 7 viable car.
Yeah.
And that's without practice. I think that's just going based on history and on the season and how he's fared. So I love the Sieg call. Definitely going to be a prime play for me as well. All right. Sheldon Creed has really surprised us here in this 2 car. 9,000 though. The price is starting to jump. Your thoughts on Creed?
I think he's a cash play, but it might be borderline. He struggled here in the truck series. But if you keep in mind, like most of the races he ran here in the truck series were during the COVID years where they didn't have practice and didn't get a chance to like set up. So we'll have a little bit about that. There are a little bit of opportunity for that. There's Richard Childress cars have been very good this year. A couple, incidents early on. I mean, we're still early in the season, but still, I think, like you said, 9K, like Josh Berry definitely for $100 more is such a better play. But I think, Creed maybe in the cash lineup, if you can't get up to another 10K guy and you need to take another 9K guy, it works. If not, I think, he's definitely good in a GPP lineup.
Sure. Next up, we have Jeb Burton, 7,500, R Motorsports 27. Jeb wasn't too good here in a colleague car. I can't imagine he's going to be any better in R Motorsports.
No, I mean, he's had 6 races here. Average finish is 15th. And he's finished all the races at least, but his only led 12 laps and like one top 5, 2 top 10s. So, but then again, like that's
fairly decent.
Yeah. Now he's in this R Motorsports car, and
I just hate that team.
Yeah, 12.7. Yeah, average running position in Phoenix, but I think he could maybe finish top 15, but I like other people at the price point.
Exactly. R Motorsports is unpredictable. That's the best way to describe their race team right now. Yes, they have the potential with some really good drivers to have really high finishes, but none of it is going to be a cash viable option this year unless they're starting way in the back because they
maybe Moffatt, though. I don't think we could.
I was going to say,
right,
to the exception of the regular R Motorsports vehicle being the O2 and the original driver, Brett Moffatt, last year. Now, the 27 and Anthony Alfredo in the 23 are the extended teams that are struggling to find consistency. So anytime you're rostering Jeb or Alfredo, GPP only. All right. Next up, we have Austin Hill. 21. This 21 car is pretty dang good. I like this play more than Creed, but on the same team.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's finished like second, the last 2 weeks, I think.
He's on fire.
Yeah.
This 21 car is really good. He's running inside the top 10, top 5, top 10 most weeks. They've had speed. They've qualified fairly well and still maintain their track position. I love the 21, Austin Hill. We know he's a good driver, truck champion. So, yeah, definitely in on that 8,400 price tag, cash. Lock it in.
Like him.
Hopefully he doesn't qualify too high, like top 3. Because then you're going to have to start getting dicey with how long is he going to run up in the top 3, and is it cash viable to start that high? Next up is Brett Moffatt in the O2, R Motorsports. We were just talking about this race team. I like him more than Burton, and 7,900 is not a bad price tag. I'm still only going to go GPP with it, though.
Yeah, I agree. If you look at his statistics, like he's not leading laps here. He's finishing at the top 15, but still like he'll hang around, but it's still risky. So yeah, GPP.
Yep. Optimally, it would be better if he started in the 20s, because then he's going to crawl inside the top 15. He'll be part of a winning lineup that way. All right, Dylan Bassett, driving the number 77.
Yeah, this is actually a surprise here. Like, I couldn't believe when I looked at his numbers in my model, like how decent he's been on tracks like this. Like an average finish of 14th. He's
used to drive for DGM.
Yeah,
we know that. He's transferred into his own single team. 4,700, insane. But yeah, take it away. I just wanted to get that out there that this is a solo team.
Yeah, and we've seen some solo teams be absolutely horrible. Yes, I'm talking to you, Jesse Anua. But then again, Brandon Brown and Jeremy Clements have been decent. So, and Ryan Sieg Racing is really starting to build an empire. So, I know the jury's still out here, but it's 4,700 and it has some good data pointing in the right direction. So I think in cash, if you need a punt, he's the guy I'm looking at.
I agree. And the 2 races that he's raced here in the Xfinity Series, out of the same vehicle, he's had average finish of 14th with 2 top 20s. So it looks like he comes to this racetrack every year waiting for it. Let me get a little bit more that maybe he's a local driver.
Well, he's Ronnie Bassett's son, isn't he? Who was like a really decent driver or some relation. So, and Bassett Racing doesn't necessarily mean that Dylan owns it. I think Ronnie is probably involved too. So it's more of a family affair, kind of like Brown.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we're in on Bassett then. 4,700 is worth it. Hopefully he qualifies poorly. We can get him a big place differential play. Next up is Landon Castle, 8,800 Colleague Racing, number 10. He's been a fade all year. I don't think it changes.
And he even he did well. Got a lot out of that 4-car last year, but not at this racetrack. So that just is the double negative right there. I'm completely out.
And we're moving on to Sam Mayer in the 1 Junior Motorsports. He's had a little bit of better. He's had some success in some recent weeks. But it's always going to be a GPP for me because I think there's still some unpredictability and inconsistency with his driving. And I know he's got really good equipment. He's a really good young prospect, but I'm still haven't seen enough. You agree?
I could say that. Like, he's been up in contention for like the lead the last couple, not at Coda, but like just before that, like in Atlanta, he was decent. He surprised me because like he was not good in a lot of races last year, and it was he was the one that was sharing the car with Barry, right? And I was to the point where he was doing so poor. It's just like, oh man, they should just give Barry the whole year. And, he could have run the Jordan Anderson car. But yes, he's kind of proving me wrong. 87 is too steep at this price. Like Austin Hill, much better play. Even potentially Sheldon Creed for 300 more is somebody you want to consider. There's not many people in this 8,700. Landon Castle, we said, is absolutely no. So kind of price in no man's land. Potentially
I'll either play Barry or Hill.
So
like I'll either go down or go up and then improve somewhere else. But yeah, if I land on them in a few lineups in like the major mini max or whatever, sure. All right, Brandon Brown, 6,900. Here we go with another solid value play solo team. The 68. He's got some. Let's see what his success is here. In 5 races, he has 4 top 20s. We're hoping he qualifies right around there. And then you just throw him right in and have no issues.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to be off him because the last couple of weeks he really hasn't been good, but it's not his style of track. I mean, Atlanta was like almost a super speedway with like a lot of wrecks and stuff. And
high variance.
It was a road course. And if you look at his like Vegas, he was really, really good, potentially top 15, might even sniffed the top 10, but he had a tire issue, which kind
just
of
a couple unlucky weeks. I mean, that happens.
Exactly.
And there's no reason to completely jump off a guy for personal reasons. Will you bet with your instincts, you bet with your mind, your brain, you don't bet with your heart. And my brain is telling me Brandon Brown is due to bounce back at some point. He's a good team, he's a good driver. It's going to happen. He's not going to be bad all year. Now, we've said that about Josh Williams, and his career has taken a complete turn. So let's hope that doesn't happen to Brandon Brown. All right, next up we have Jeremy Clements and another solo team. The 51 car, 7,200, not a bad price tag. Your thoughts on Jeremy Clements?
Here's what scares me. 22 races at Richmond. 22
He's the veteran.
Races at Richmond. His average running finish is 22nd. He has 1 top 10 in 22 races.
I mean, we're not talking about a small sample size here.
Yes. Yeah. We're talking a monster sample size. Not as bad as JJ Yaley, who's been here for 24 races and has 0 top 10s, an average running position or average finish of 24, with a quarter of them being DNFs. So no, Clements has struggled a little bit this year. Brown is $300 cheaper, the better play. Not really interested here.
If Clements has a very poor qualifying and he's starting 38th, 37th, yes, then you play him because he's not going to be 30's bad. He'll probably be like 26 through 24 or something, and that's still a positive place differential that you'll want in your cash lineup. So unless that happens, yeah, I could be out on Clements too. Alex LeBay in DGM, the 36, 7K.
Not his style.
Road course ringer kind of gentleman here. Doesn't look like he has any history to go on here that I'm seeing. So
5 races, average finish of 18th. So, you know, again, if you're like, he's 7K, so you know, there's some guys probably coming up in like 6K that I'd rather take over him. But you know, if that's the range you end up in, then you're going to drop down 100 and take Brandon Brown over him.
Yeah. Okay. Ryan Preece in the 5, BJ McLeod. This is typically Matt Mills, but they've given the ride to Preece, and they have certainly made us pay for it. 9,800
because it's a 5 Haas. It's allegedly a Stuart Haas car painted by BJ McLeod.
Okay. So maybe like an old 98, and it's just in the 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that changes my perspective then, because Ryan Preece is a really good driver. Doesn't have to have much history here. I shouldn't say really good driver.
In Xfinity, he hasn't been good here. He's only his average finish is 25th and 8 in 5 races. He's way overpriced here. You know, even though
my thoughts were good.
Sorry.
No, you're good. No, I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah. So it just, his composite average is 21 when I looked at everything, which, you know, potentially, I don't think you completely write him off. I think you can sprinkle him into some GPPs, but if you're looking at his price in context of, you know, up against, like, he's more expensive than Daniel Hamrick and Brandon Jones. He's only like 400 cheaper than Allmendinger. It's just, he's a good driver, but just not in this car and not in this race. Now, if you put him into 18 at a different track, I'd definitely consider it.
Okay. All right. Next up, Myatt Snyder in the 31, Jordan Anderson Racing. 7,700 is getting up there in price. Like, I would like him around 72, 69, but I don't know. I don't have a good feel here for Snyder. Any thoughts?
You're right, because he wasn't a JR Motorsports car, and he had 3 races here, and his average finish was 30th in a good car. Yeah. So now he moved into, he was in a great car. Now he moves to a good car. You know, Jordan Anderson won decent. His Phoenix running was like 24th, almost 25th. It's just,
that's not what you want to
see. Again, if he qualifies without any mechanical issues, like less than 30th, then he's somebody I'd consider, but not a priority at 7,700.
Yeah. All right, cool. Next up, we have Joey Gase, Emmerling Gase Racing, 5,300, the 35 car. Any info here with Gase this week?
I'm thinking that if his average running, he's 16 races here. He only has a 6% DNF rate, and there have been crashes here, so that's pretty good that he's been able to keep it on the track. Only a 25th average finish, but that's what you need at 5,300. If Joey Gate qualifies anywhere below 25th, and you know he can get to 25th, then he's a cash play.
Yeah, I would have to agree here with Joey Gase. I like that. Bailey Curry in the 4. This was Landon Castle last year. This is the better of the JD Motorsports cars. I don't mind Bailey here at 5,900. You know, in 3 races that I can see in the last 5, he does have 1 top 20, but those were probably with lesser, I don't know, lesser able car teams. So I think here with a better team, a better setup, he might be able to finish better. Fair?
Yeah, I don't know. Like the $600 more than Gase kind of got me. I have him as a GPP. She had 27th.
That works.
27th average running position here in 21. not bad at Phoenix, 20th, 24th. He's the same situation as Joey Gase.
Yeah.
If
I would compare
there,
their practice times and
right.
see who comes out better. Yeah.
I think we got to go down one more because Matt Mills is the tiebreaker right here because this guy, even though he's in the BJ McLeod car, and it's the 55. This is rumored to be the 5, which has been the best BJ McLeod car because there usually isn't a 55. So I think they just took the 5 and put another 5 on it to make it the 55. But Matt Mills has been solid here. 7 races, 23rd average running position. I think, he's got a little bit more get to top 20 upside. So if I'm looking at the 3 of these drivers, I think they are almost identical. Matt Mills sticks out the most.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have JJ Yeley in the 66 MBM.
Same situation, but more expensive. So, why would you?
Yeah. 62.
I feel like we're at a copier here. We're just photocopying drivers, and it's the same thing.
Yeah. Stephen Parsons, 52, has not had a good race car this year at all on all tracks. I don't know. I haven't played him yet, so I don't see that I will keep. I've seen people play this guy though. Isn't that something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything?
No, I'm not interested in him. I think he's a decent driver. I think it's the car is more the issue.
Got it. All right, Mason Massey, the 91 DGM. This has been a decent car this year. The 92 and the 91 have been really good on all tracks so far. I'm going to play Mason Massey at 6K.
Yeah, and again, he kind of stands out among this group here. Also, if you're looking at his 3 races here, 21. So again, somebody that has more potential to move up. It's been a solid car. DGM has been a solid team for a smaller team. They've been impressive. So definitely.
Next up, we have Jade Buford, Big Machine Racing. 6,500 isn't too expensive for a car that has been quite popular in DFS contests this year. Big Machine has had some decent speed. Is there any kind of history or anything we can latch onto with
not
this
good
guy?
here? He's not been good at this track. This Big Machine has been fast, but it's been fast in qualifying. But then when it gets to the race, it really hasn't held up as much. So I think there are times to play Jay Buford, and I don't think this is one of them, unless for some reason he starts 35th or worse.
Got it. Next up, we have Riley Herbst in the 98 8100 for Stuart Haas Racing. He's had some good moments this year. He's had some bad moments this year. In 4 of the last 5 races, he's got 3 top 20s, only 1 top 10.
Yeah, and I think what kind of threw him down here in my model is he blew a tire early on in Phoenix and ran right into the wall. It was a hard crash. But 1 top 5 here, 3 top 10s, 14 say, average fish. And if you look at him 8,100 in comparison to some of the other ones, I can put him. I like Austin Hill more for $300, but I think. I don't want to say he's a cash play, but I'd feel comfortable if he's the last man in. If I already have Austin Hill, or if I can't get up to Austin Hill and I can't change my lineup to get him in, if I'm starting to lose other priority guys, because it might be that I'm dropping from Allgeier down to Allmendinger, and I'm just no, I'd rather, not try to put Hill in my lineup. I'd rather have Allgeier, and then, he's gonna work. So.
All righty. Next up, we have Joe Groff Jr. and David Starr, SS Greenlight Racing. Any thoughts on those two?
I don't know if Joe Groff Jr. will even qualify. This 7 car, it seems is amazing. If you put Cole Custer and some of the other guys in it, you put Joe Graff Jr. in it, and he might as well be driving blindfolded, it's not a good situation. He might almost be the second worst driver in Xfinity right now.
I don't disagree.
And
David Starr, 08.
If you need the 49, I'd rather play Dylan Bassett. Just looking at the numbers, he has some experience here. He's raced 10 races, 27. So really looking for him to start around 27th or worse. The car should hold up, but you look at everything says like 29, 29, 29, 29. So, he's going to be around there. If there's a wreck and he can avoid it, and he might move up through attrition, but he's playable. Let's just say that.
Alrighty, next up we have Josh Williams in the 78 BJ McLeod car. This car has stunk.
Yes, and the reason that he's not down in the red zone here, and he might be one that ends up not qualifying because there's been several races where he hasn't been able to make the cut, is he was really good at Richmond last year, but he was in a DGM car last year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, now the BJ McLeod car, this is probably the slowest BJ McLeod car they have. So
not good.
Yeah.
They have not figured anything out yet. No dice until I see anything from that team. Next up, we have two Ryan Sieg racing cars. We have Parker Retzlaff in the 38 and Kyle Sieg back in his 28 after the road course. I like playing Kyle Sieg, and I think I'm going to be in on anything Ryan Sieg racing. I think both these cars qualify. We'll see where.
Yeah, and you can't really look at the finishes of Retzlaff because he's had some car issues here, but he's been fast in practice and qualifying. So, if everything goes well in practice and qualifying, these Ryan Sieg cars, like we said, this team has really moved forward. And if as long as they're not qualifying like in the top 10, then they're automatic fades, because I don't think they can hang there. Anything probably 20th down, I think they're definitely playable. They're a little bit high. I definitely, consider like their placement up against like Mason Massey and Matt Mills, but I think their cars are better than those cheaper guys in the 5K range.
All righty. Next up, we have Ryan Vargas in the 6. Always a no for me.
Yep.
Nope. Anthony Alfredo in the 23 R Motorsports car. 7,400 is pretty pricey for a car I consider to be not better than, I don't know, Bailey Curry's 4.
Right.
Like the car itself is not that good. The driver, good. But I don't know. I don't think this is a 7,400 car.
No, it's a GPP. It's not a fade, but
that's fair. Yeah. I'm leaning fade if based on qualifying.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have
Derek
Griffin in the 26. What do we know about Derek Griffin? Because we know we like this car.
He's an ARCA driver. He's ran one truck series race here. Okay. So don't look at his stats because he's been having it at this track. He's got a lot of promise. He's not an elite ARCA driver. He's a good ARCA driver, but the Sam Hunt car has been good. So for 5,800, I mean, I think up against like a Bailey Curley and like some of the other ones in the range, depending on where he starts. Look at practice and qualifying, and if he has some decent speed in practice, but qualifies, poorly. If he's above 25th, I'm not touching him, but it's a very strong car for a very low price.
You got it. I agree. Next up, we have two Alpha Prime racing vehicles here. We have Howie De Savant the third, Rajay Caruth. That's a name I have not heard in a very long time.
Didn't he play like a shortstop for the Angels or something?
I know there was a Caruth that played football, but I thought Raja used to drive.
Okay. He's an ARCA driver. I know that much. And Howie De Silva, the reason I like these guys in cash is it's the same thing with Griffith. Is I'm kind of taking the drivers out of the equation and looking at the teams and the cars and knowing that Sam Hunt and Alpha Prime would not put guys in cars. They're really trying to build their brands here, and they're decent mid-level teams, so they're not going to put jokers in these cars.
I would have to agree. There was a article I saw on Caruth. No, he's a young guy. Maybe he's the son of a Caruth that I'm thinking of. He's only 19, and he won the Wendell Scott Trailblazer Award recipient for his ARCA series racing. Okay, so he's got some promise, like you said. 5,700, don't mind. I think he'll qualify. This next car, I don't think will qualify. The 47 in the Xfinity Series has been a really terrible car. Brennan Poole, I'm sorry that you're stuck here in this situation, but gross. Kyle Weatherman is in the 34 for Jesse Iwuji and Emmett Smith, their team. I'm not sure exactly why I saw the change earlier today. DraftKings was quick to get Kyle Weatherman into the player pool at 6,800. But yeah,
no Jesse Iwuji. So he might have like his bell might be still ringing, but this will be the test because Weatherman's a decent driver. This will show us is the car the problem or is the driver the problem. So again, I don't know if they're going to qualify. They missed out last week on not having enough driver points to get in. It was the first time they didn't qualify all years. And the same thing with Harrison Rhodes. So I'm guessing that when all is said and done, that like if you look at drivers' points and everybody, probably Josh Williams, Brendan Poole, Kyle Weatherman, and Harrison Rhodes are the ones that will not qualify. Potentially Ryan Vargas is out and Kyle Weatherman would be in.
All right, I've been waiting 41 drivers to give you my lame attempt at a joke. We have Harrison Burton and Ben Rhodes' bastard love child here. Harrison Rhodes driving in the 52 for Jimmy Means. I don't think this car qualifies. I just wanted to tell my stupid joke and be on my merry way.
I would have been better if you told me it was Harrison Ford and Dusty Rhodes, but
much better than my feeble attempt. I cannot even imagine what a Dusty Rhodes Harrison Ford look like. Anyway, this show's gotten off the rails, and that'll probably wrap things up for driver by driver breakdown. Mega, any last thoughts here on the Toyota 250 for Xfinity tomorrow?
No, again, we just gonna have to see like how qualifying goes in there, and then we'll have a short window of time to figure it out and build our lineups. The nice thing is for our Cup video, we will have when we shoot it, we will have qualifying, so that one will be a little bit easier to break down with real data. But hopefully you guys are enjoying like what we're trying to do here and just kind of give you some insight on what we think of just using some formulas to try to figure this all out. So if we can tweak it anyway to help you even more, let us know, and we'll see what we can do, because we're facing a lot of races this year where this is going to be the case, where we don't have any actual data to go by, and it's just not feasible for TK and I to try to shoot a video after qualifying. By the time we shot the video and got it uploaded and out to you guys, it'd just be, even if we tried to do it live, it's just the window's so small, it just would be a disaster. So
a disaster, or just not enough time to get all the information you need. So hey, a little bit of projection and speculation and mathematics couldn't go a better way for you here. We have another 12-13 hours till race time, so get this video in, subscribe to the channel, Fantasy Sports Insight, leave a comment below with any questions you may have, or you can join us in the Discord. You can find that link on our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS or on our website, FSIDFS.com. All right, Mega, thank you for your time this evening. Good luck to you tomorrow, and looking forward to our chat and race day this weekend. All right, guys, thanks.
See you.